At our high school reunion, Rosalind, the former prom queen, posed a question to the women at our table. After 10 years of marriage, what would you do if you discovered your husband was cheating? Most women didn't hesitate. Divorce him, they chorused. Then her gaze landed on me. I chuckled, a touch of dark humor in my voice. The only way I'll ever leave my marriage is in a black dress. Laughter rippled around the table, but Rosalind's face went pale. There was something unreadable in her expression, a shadow behind her eyes. A week earlier, Rosalind had called to organize this reunion. Nearly 20 years had passed since graduation, and the thought of seeing everyone again sent a thrill through me. The problem was, excitement and sleep rarely coexist for me. That first night, I tossed and turned in bed, wide awake. Eason, my husband, stirred beside me and draped an arm over my shoulders. "What's wrong, love?" he murmured. "Rosalind is organizing a reunion. I'm just too excited to sleep." "You're ridiculous," he whispered, rubbing my back with the kind of gentle care he reserved for our daughter. "Let's count sheep together." Under his calming touch, sleep finally came. Eason was, without exaggeration, the most patient and understanding man I had ever known. Which is why, at the reunion, when Rosalind asked that question and I delivered my cheeky answer, I felt untouchable. The only way I'm leaving my marriage is in a black dress. The crowd laughed. Everyone except Rosalind. I brushed it off as mere party banter. I trusted Eason completely. But for the rest of the night, I couldn't shake the sensation of her staring at me. Whenever I tried to meet her eyes, she looked away too quickly. Later, I found her in the restroom and confronted her. "Rosalind, we've known each other forever. If there's something to tell me, just say it." She forced a laugh and claimed nothing was wrong, but I saw through the act.
"Now,
"Tell me." Her expression hardened. "Promise me you'll stay calm." A pit formed in my stomach, but I nodded. She unlocked her phone and opened her photo gallery. The images hit me like a blow to the chest. Eason with women, lots of them, posed in ways that left no doubt about his intentions. These weren't casual photos. The intimacy in the pictures, the way he looked at them, it was lust, pure and raw. "These, who are they?" I whispered. Rosalind swiped to another image, her lips tight. It was a photo of her and Eason together. Anger flared. The mistress was flaunting it. "He told me he was single," she spat. "He lied to me. Why should I believe you?" She showed me their messages. Declarations of love, flirtations, even financial exchanges. He pretended he was unattached. I gave him over $100,000, dreaming we'd marry, have children. Then Sienna sent me a photo of him with you. Everything was a lie. Sienna? Who's Sienna? My mind reeled. Another woman he conned. Anger, confusion. Rosalind's revelation barely sank in before Sienna entered the picture. I left the reunion without saying goodbye. I needed to get home. I had to confront Eason. How many women had there been? What had he been doing behind my back? Rosalind followed me. "Kathy, don't do anything rash." Rash? If she weren't my former classmate, I might have hit her. "Kathy." She grabbed my arm. I yanked it free. "Don't touch me," I snapped, fury sharpening my tone. Tears welled in her eyes. Playing the victim now, I thought. I spat on the ground and jumped into a taxi, leaving her behind. As the cab drove off, my mind raced. How do I confront him? How do I unleash the storm inside me? My phone rang. It was Eason. How dare he call? I answered, ready to yell. But a soft voice greeted me instead. "Mommy, when are you coming home? I miss you." My throat tightened. My daughter, Lily, just 5 years old, was my whole world. If I tore this marriage apart, what would happen to her? Eason could fight for custody, and he would likely win. My earlier words echoed in my mind. The only way I'm leaving this marriage is in a black dress. I swallowed my tears, hardening my resolve into a cold, sharp edge. I wouldn't let him walk away unscathed. For someone like him, there was only one fate. When I returned home, Eason was as caring as ever. Slippers waiting, a bath drawn. On any other day, I would have melted and kissed him. Now, I felt sick at the sight of him. A perfect mask hiding a rotten core. "Had too much to drink?" he asked, noticing my expression. He suspected nothing. My forthright nature had always made me transparent to him, but he was a master of deception, handsome on the surface, a philanderer beneath. No woman could remain calm after discovering such betrayal. But I needed a clear mind. I had already lost so much. I couldn't afford to lose everything. Feigning drunkenness, I stumbled into the bathroom, made loud retching sounds, and finally let the tears flow freely. Later, curled up with Lily until she fell asleep, Ethan quietly entered, tucked us in, and left without a sound. Everything had happened so fast. One moment, I was certain of his betrayal. The next, seeing his familiar tenderness, a flicker of doubt crept in. Could the photos have been faked? It struck me as strange that Rosalind had gone through the trouble of organizing a reunion after more than 10 years of silence. Why would she reappear only to claim she had been involved with my husband? The whole thing felt calculated, as if she had an ulterior motive, maybe even the desire to push me out of the picture. She called again the next day, insisting she needed to talk. "I have nothing to say to you," I replied, my tone icy. "If you think a few photos can destroy my marriage, you've seriously misjudged me." She stayed silent for several long seconds, then simply hung up. I scoffed. A pretty face was not the same thing as a functioning brain, but clearly she thought otherwise. Yet she still didn't back off. By noon the next day, she appeared at my workplace, grabbed my arm, and ushered me into her car before I could even react. "What do you want now?" I snapped. "Is my family just entertainment to you?" She said nothing, just kept driving. We ended up in a district full of neon signs and pulsing music, a place completely foreign to me. After marriage and motherhood, my world had narrowed to a familiar routine of office, home, and preschool runs. Rosalind, however, navigated the area like a regular. She led me to a shadowy corner of a bar. "There's a show in a minute," she said quietly. "You need to watch it, and whatever happens, stay calm." The show began. My heart plummeted as I watched Ethan stroll in with a woman clinging to him, his hands roaming her body without shame. Their closeness was the kind that only came with long practice. "That's Sienna," Rosalind murmured. "Between the three of us, you're the wife, and she and I are the girlfriends." Seeing Ethan behave like that, so openly, so intimately, tore my sense of reality apart. The gentle man waiting at home and the sleazy version in front of me felt like two entirely different people. Eventually, the three of us ended up sitting together at one table. Me, the legal wife and senior manager who had helped run the company for years. Rosalind, a business owner who had been deceived out of her time, body, and savings. And Sienna, a wealthy heiress whose family owned 2 private hospitals, manipulated in the same way. The air was heavy and cold. Rosalind asked what I intended to do. If I planned to forgive him, she said she would step back, and so would Sienna. "We were classmates, Kathy," she said softly. "I'm telling you, because I wanted to protect you." The irony made my stomach twist. My marriage was so damaged it needed outsiders to decide its fate. Sienna leaned forward, her tone sharp. "Even if you wanted him back, can you honestly believe he'll stop? Can you guarantee he'll change?" No one could promise that. Not even Ethan himself. And even if I stayed, how could I sleep beside a man who had been with so many others, a man whose loyalty was worth less than pocket change? But divorce came with its own horrors. The company I had devoted myself to for a decade was legally under his aunt's name. Ethan was the real owner, but he had shielded himself behind a convenient figurehead. I had poured everything into that business believing I was building a future for our family, only to discover it was never mine at all. Our house was in both names, but he had enough money to buy me out without blinking. Worst of all, I risked losing Lily. I had nearly died giving birth to her. Everything in my life revolved around her. Losing her was unthinkable. If I divorced him now, all I would walk away with was heartbreak and empty hands. Silence fell over the table. Rosalind and Sienna understood exactly why I hesitated. Rosalind squeezed my hand. "Kathy, don't worry. We'll make him pay for what he's done. Together." My request was modest. I only wanted what I had earned, the profit from 10 years of work. Sienna scoffed. "I'd take back 10 times what he took." "You're too gentle." I managed a small, humorless smile. That was the difference between a girlfriend and a wife. They could walk away clean. I still had a child to protect. I couldn't scorch the earth and risk losing her. They say, when 3 women gather, a storm follows. Ours was about to begin. Since the company was under Ethan's aunt's name, I had no legal right to claim it. But I knew its operations down to the last detail. If he wanted to play dirty, I could too. The first step was simple: avoid setting off Ethan's alarms. So I had Rosalind file an anonymous report accusing the company of tax evasion. It didn't take long for auditors to arrive. The investigation hit the company hard, but it was a necessary move. Eason's aunt, Karen, was a nurse who lent her name to the business for a monthly payment and a generous annual bonus. She loved easy money, but she hated responsibility even more. Tax issues could be minor if handled correctly, pay the fines and move on. But Karen was the sort of woman who treated every dollar as if it were glued to her palm. The fines would cut into her bonus. She would never agree to pay.
I was counting on that.
Auditors began showing up every day. Because Karen was the official owner, she had to be present. She panicked almost immediately. She pointed straight at me. She's the one running this place. Her husband owns the whole thing. He just used my name. He told me nothing would ever happen. Those were not words you throw at tax officials. Their expressions darkened as they looked at me. I'm just an employee, I said in a trembling voice, playing dumb. Karen blew up. Employee? Her husband started this company and used my name. I barely get pocket change while they rake in the money. The auditors told me to call Eason at once. So I called him, crying, telling him the company was falling apart. The moment Eason arrived, Karen clung to him dramatically. So, this is why you used my name. You and your wife wanted to drag me down with you. You too get rich evading taxes while you throw me scraps? I won't let you ruin me. Then she collapsed theatrically, gasping for breath. Eason's face twisted with fury. I stood nearby, doing my best not to laugh. When he finally got her out of the room, the auditors grilled him for hours. By the time they left, his expression was murderous. If I find out who reported us, he growled, they'll regret it for the rest of their life. It didn't matter who filed the report. What mattered was that Karen was rattled enough to consider stepping down. She had always dreamed of earning a permanent nurse position, something she had never been able to secure. This was where Sienna entered the plan. I invited Karen for coffee. Aunt Karen, I know how much a permanent hospital position means to you. I have a friend whose family owns hospitals. I asked her to help. Karen's eyes lit up, then dimmed with reluctance. She wanted the job but not the cost. You don't need to worry about any fees, I added gently. Let me handle them. Her face brightened instantly. Kathy, if you can get this for me, I'll owe you forever. I escorted her to one of Sienna's family hospitals. Sienna welcomed her warmly, playing her role flawlessly. Any relative of Kathy's is family to us, she said. A permanent position? That's easy. Just go home and wait for the notice. Karen left beaming, not realizing we had no intention of giving her anything. With her distracted, we turned to the next target. Eason. His self-control was non-existent, and the best way to deal with an undisciplined dog was to neuter it. Obviously, that was illegal. But Sienna's family had hospitals. Access wasn't a problem. We just needed an accident. Since the company crisis had kept him on edge, he wasn't going out chasing women. He was sticking to work and home. So the job fell to me. I poured shampoo onto the bathroom tiles. When he stepped out of the shower, he lost his footing and fell into a painful, awkward split. It was poetic justice. He lay there groaning. I hurried over with a mask of concern. Honey, are you hurt? We should get you checked. No, I'm fine, he gasped, walking bow-legged and wincing. Just give me a second. What if it's serious? I would be devastated if something happened to you, I said sweetly. I helped him to the car and drove straight to Sienna's hospital, messaging the others on the way. We met in the waiting room. Sienna asked quietly, Are we doing this? Rosalind hesitated. It's illegal. Obviously, we can't cross any legal lines, Sienna said, her grin sly. But there are other ways that get inside his head. She outlined her plan. It was cunning, almost cruel. In the old days, prisoners were driven mad by a single drop of water falling on their heads, day after day. We would recreate that effect in a modern form. Because it was her hospital, Eason was quickly admitted. An X-ray revealed a fractured pelvis. The doctor's grave tone left him no room for doubt. He would be bedridden, immobilized, for at least a month. His legs were spread wide and strapped, and the pain made him believe every word. While he lay trapped in the hospital bed, we turned our attention to Karen, his aunt. A week later, her impatience surfaced over the phone. Kathy, have they said anything? Do you need me to sign papers? Aunt Karen, these things take time, I replied, feigning patience. The right opportunity has to come together. Another week passed, and she called again, her anxiety more obvious. Kathy, if there's a fee, we can pay. Just tell me what's needed. I already said money isn't the issue, I answered, feigning offense. With Eason immobilized, the trap was ready to spring. Sienna called Karen directly. I tried to help you get a position, but a background check revealed you're the legal owner of a company. They rejected your application immediately. I had no idea you were such a big shot. Karen panicked, sputtering protests, but Sienna hung up. Seconds later, my phone rang. Kathy, you need to tell them the truth. The company isn't mine. It's yours and Eason's. Aunt Karen, they only care about the paperwork, I said calmly. What do I do? She wailed. Tell Eason to fix it now, or he'll regret it. I went to the hospital and approached Eason's bedside. Drowsy from painkillers, he barely opened his eyes. Honey, I said softly, Aunt Karen wants to give up ownership of the company. What should we do? I'm so tired, handle it, he muttered. The sedatives in his four were doing their work perfectly. Armed with his ID and the necessary paperwork, I escorted Karen to the business registration office. 20 days later, the company was officially in Eason's name, and as his wife, I was legally entitled to half. Once Eason could walk again, I told him that I would be spending more time at the office and that a full-time nurse would look after him. Groggy as he was, he didn't argue. I walked to the room next door, where a one-way mirror allowed us to watch him. Rosalind and Sienna were waiting. Company matters all settled? Sienna asked. I nodded. Do you think he'll suspect anything? Let's test it, she said, grinning. She entered Eason's room. We watched as he tried to leap from bed, only to collapse with a cry of pain. His mind, convinced for a month that his pelvis was broken, betrayed him completely. What's happening? He stammered. Sienna leaned over, her tone conspiratorial. This is my hospital. And the medication you've been receiving? I prescribed it. What did you give me? He asked, terror creeping into his eyes. Estrogen, she said lightly. Soon, we'll be more like sisters than enemies. He scrambled toward the door, shouting threats. Rosalind and I blocked his path, smiling. You planned this together, he accused, grabbing my arm. Kathy, I love you. I've only ever loved you. I shoved him off coldly. Still lying, even now. He lunged at Sienna, hands around her throat, fury twisting his face. She struggled, red-faced, and Rosalind and I tried to pull him off, but he was a man consumed by rage. Acting on instinct, I grabbed the force stand and swung it. He shoved me away, sending me sprawling. Help! Someone help! Rosalind screamed. Doctors and nurses swarmed the room, restraining Eason while I helped a gasping Sienna to her feet. His eyes locked on mine, filled with pure hatred. Kathy, don't celebrate yet. I will make you pay for this. A chill ran through me. Not for myself, but for Lily. He would use our daughter to strike back. I bolted from the hospital, racing toward Lily's preschool. But she wasn't there. My knees almost gave out. Mrs. Croft, her teacher asked, studying me. Didn't you say she'd be out sick today? Of course. I had left her at her grandmother's house that morning. Relief flooded me. I drove straight to my mother-in-law's and scooped Lily into my arms, holding her tight. You forgot her medicine, my mother reminded me, holding out a small bag. You've had so much on your plate. You've been strong. I'm fine, I murmured, hurrying out. My parents' house, 3 hours away, was the only safe place. On the highway, Rosalind called. Kathy, Eason escaped. Be careful. Where are you? My blood ran cold. I told her to check in every half hour as I raced. For the whole drive, there was no sign of him. I pictured every place he might appear, our home, the preschool, his mother's, but one location had slipped my mind. I parked outside my parents' building and ran upstairs with Lily. Just as I rang the doorbell, Rosalind called again. The door swung open. It was Eason, smiling, though bruised, one hand bandaged. Eason, I gasped. Daddy. Lily wriggled free from my arms, running straight into him. I tried to intervene, but he scooped her up, eyes gleaming with triumph, a predator finally cornering his prey. Give me back my daughter, I shouted. Now, honey, he said, voice low and dangerous. Do you really want to make a scene in front of your parents? I could call them right now. Eason, my voice broke. Panic tightened every muscle. What do you want? I'll give you anything. He laughed and pulled me inside, arm around my shoulders. Mom, Dad, Kathy's here. Let's have a nice family dinner together. My parents were delighted by the surprise. My mother pulled me into the kitchen, chatting happily, while Eason kept Lily close in the living room. I felt despair rising like a tide. Surrounded by the people I loved most, I realized I couldn't protect them. "Kathy, are you all right?" my mother asked gently. "I'm fine," I whispered, though my heart pounded in my chest. "She's just tired from the drive," Eason said smoothly, taking Lily into the bedroom. But as soon as the door closed, his expression twisted into a lecherous smirk. "You know what they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder." "You," I sneered. "Even a eunuch can feel desire?" The word struck a nerve. With a roar of furious humiliation, he lunged at me. Here, in my parents' home, he intended to hurt me. I fought back with every ounce of strength I had, kicking and scratching, terrified to scream. "You'd better cooperate, Kathy," he hissed, "or no one in your precious family is safe." "You bastard. Don't push me too far." "Oh, I'll push you," he laughed darkly. "Did you think I ever loved you? You were just a convenient worker, a maid for my fortune. While you slaved away, I had the freedom to chase anyone I wanted. And now you team up with those other women. Why couldn't you just stay in your happy little bubble?" He twisted my arm behind my back and brandished a document. "Sign this divorce agreement. Walk away with nothing, and I'll even let you keep the child. She's just a burden anyway." Hearing him call his own daughter a burden, something inside me snapped. My leg lashed out, connecting with him in a strike that made him howl in pain. My parents pounded on the door. I shouted through it, telling them to take Lily outside, then called Rosalind for backup. "Come fast. Bring help." "We're on our way, Kathy," she responded. I ran outside and locked the front door behind me. From the 5th floor, he wouldn't dare escape. My father appeared in the stairwell, worry etched on his face. "It's okay, Dad. Go find Mom," I said, trying to sound steady. Tears slipped anyway. "It's okay," he murmured, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Whatever it is, I've got you." Rosalind and Sienna arrived, breathless, flanked by 3 men in medical uniforms. "Where is he?" "In there," I whispered, collapsing from exhaustion. They removed Eason in a straitjacket. "Kathy, you'll pay for this," he screamed, rage contorting his face. I looked at my father. "Dad, he's not right in the head." "I know," he said quietly. "He's mentally ill. I'm so sorry for what you and Lily endured." Eason was committed to a long-term psychiatric facility. On the way, he bit an orderly and was promptly diagnosed with violent psychosis. The arrogant man, outsmarted and confined, faced a fate worse than death in his mind. At first, he resisted constantly, but the more he fought, the harsher the consequences, sedatives after every outburst. Within 2 months, the spark in his eyes had dulled to a hollow gray. As his wife, I visited once a month, always armed with good news. I updated him on the company, its expansion, and rising profits. At first, he spat threats through the bars. "Don't get too comfortable, Kathy," he warned. I feigned fear. "Oh dear, with words like that, I might have to keep you here forever." He was finished. A year later, I visited with news I knew would provoke him. Lately, he'd grown unnervingly calm, dismissing my taunts with a detached, "Good for you." "I registered a new company," I said, brandishing the incorporation certificate. "It's in my father's name, so I have no legal connection. Thanks to your lessons, I know how to protect myself." His eyes flickered with emotion. I had him. "We've transferred most of the old company's business over. By the time you're free, the transition will be complete." "What are you trying to do?" he demanded, gripping the bars. "Nothing," I replied, smiling and pulling out the divorce papers. "We'll split the remaining assets 50-50. Just sign." "And if I don't," he growled. I smiled, calm and cold. "The court can finalize it without your consent. Compared to your plan to leave me with nothing, I'm being generous. With evidence of your adultery and fraud, you don't belong in freedom. You belong under supervision. But I won't destroy my daughter's life. Institutionalized or not, you're a better father than a felon could ever be." "You vicious woman," he screamed after me. "What woman wants to be vicious? None. We want to be loving wives and mothers. But when stripped of everything and threatened at the core of your being, sometimes the only way to survive and protect your child is to become a warrior."